Welcome. Today we are on week 12 of the program. Today we are talking about drinking to accept good enough. Now, this might seem like a little bit of an abstract topic, or maybe you found yourself saying, "Oh, well, I don't do that. I'm an overachiever. I'm a go-getter. I'm a whatever you want to call yourself. I'm an Enneagram. I think 8 is the achiever. Not sure. I'm not super hip on the Enneagrams, but I want you to actually listen very, very closely because this is something that I have found across the board after 5+ years working with clients, that this is a consistent barrier that many women have that actually keeps them stuck in their relationship with alcohol. So I think that I've had most of you consider this before, but I want you to take a minute and call back up to your memory some of the big dreams you had for yourself as a child. What was it that you wanted to be? What did you want to do? What did you want to accomplish? Who did you want to become? Who did you envision yourself being as an adult, as a big kid? And then when you were an adolescent, what were you interested in? What did you want to study? What did you want to participate in? What careers did you want to explore? Were they the same as when you were a little kid? So, what did you want to be, do, explore, experience as a kid? And then how did that vision change when you were an adolescent? Now, I want you to consider what you actually ended up pursuing when you became a young adult and had the choice to either go to school or start into a trade. Where did you go? Where did you end up? Where are you now? Now, I'm going to venture to guess that no matter where you are and what you're doing, you're probably pretty damn good at it, right? You probably get a lot of accolades. You probably get a lot of pats on the back. People come to you and say how great you are. You're always achieving far ahead of the crowd. I'm going to guess this about you because, again, these are constant similarities in the women who I work with. But I want you to ask, what path did you end up pursuing? And is it exactly where you thought you were going to be? Is it just a little bit off track and maybe adjacent? Or is it a far, far departure from who you thought you were going to become? And here's the deal, there's no wrong path. There is never a wrong path because every path takes you to a similar destination if you so choose. So, what I find quite often is that we end up in situations where we are pursuing what many writers and self-help gurus call the shadow career. It is just close enough to what you thought that you wanted to do, but maybe you were a little too afraid to take that leap. So I have one client who like here, I'll actually just give a great across the board example. You wanted to be an attorney, but you didn't think you quite had the chops for it, or it was too expensive or too time consuming, or maybe you had a kid and you didn't know if you could go to law school. So instead you decided to become a paralegal. And while that is a very noble, wonderful career that you might be very, very good at, if you were always wanting to be an attorney and you didn't pursue that path and you're just a little inch away from it, there is going to be a part of your soul that hasn't been fulfilled, a part of your soul's desire. And especially as women who tend to be nurturers and homemakers and all these other wonderful things, what we tend to do is we tend to accept, I should be just happy. This is good enough. I got pretty close. I'm pretty lucky to be doing what I'm doing. I'm pretty good at doing what I'm doing. This job pays so well and has so much security. I should just be happy. Right. So we often have shadow careers that get us really, really close. Then we also often take broad departures and we choose what is best, quote unquote, good, right, or popular. I have one client who I've worked with for a long time, and she is an incredibly intelligent, incredibly capable woman who just could move mountains. And she chose a career based on what people said that she couldn't do. Basically, she kind of like accepted a challenge. Oh, like you can't do that. You can't figure out that career. And she did it and she's kicked its ass for 10, 15, 20 years, only to reveal to me in the last couple of years that it's never what she wanted to do. And she feels kind of stuck in this identity because she's received so many accolades, so many promotions, so much acknowledgement in the industry that she's really pigeonholed herself as this career. And I have yet another client who, you know, kind of made a departure, or even myself. I chose a career that I thought would be well paying. I always wanted to be a teacher or a dancer, um, or an author. And when I got to college, by the time I got to college, I also really was interested in interior design. I'm obsessed with like home architecture and aesthetics. So I had thought first about being an architect, and then I looked at the path for that. I'm like, whoa, that's a lot of math and a lot of the stuff that I don't want to do. So architecture was a no. So then I'm like, I also like interior design. I'll look at that. Well, interior design is a lot of drawing. And right when the time I was in college, it was leading up to a recession. And I was the kind who I was always researching my career and the trajectory and the likelihood of getting a job, plus like being really bang up at all of the renderings they told me I had to do, which now I know you don't really have to learn to do that, but whatever. But getting a job, that was just like, oh, I don't know that I'm going to be able to get a job in this. So I pivoted again. And I started to explore this career that I deeply, deeply desired in writing. I always wanted to be a writer. But the creative writing career, again, did not promise to be very fruitful. It didn't seem very stable. And as someone who grew up in a single parent family, in a very blue collar family, stability was something I was striving for. So instead of choosing creative writing, instead of choosing journalism or something else that maybe I could get some really cool experience in, I chose technical writing, which I think I've explained to you several times is writing and editing manuals essentially. Now there's a lot more broad to it than that, but it's boring. You're in a cubicle. It has 0% creative expression. And I chose it because I thought it was practical. And I will tell you what, I would have been so miserable doing that career. It was a shadow career and I would have been so terribly depressed in that area. But I ended up going into communication, which is public speaking, which is presenting, which is marketing writing, and using a lot of these creative muscles. Yet it still wasn't what I wanted to do. When I went to grad school, I had the opportunity to teach public speaking for a couple of years. So I taught the most dreaded class in all of college curriculum, and I was really, really damn good at it. And it still didn't feel right. I was offered a position teaching after I graduated, and I took it on part time, and it still didn't feel right. And then I went into my corporate career where I was doing marketing and all of these creative projects, and I was hosting events. And then I was asked to be a public speaker for the organization I worked for. So I was again up on stage speaking, and it still didn't feel right because I was pursuing other people's applications of my dream. I wasn't pursuing my exact dream. Now, here's the deal. Sometimes we can be happy and find a lot of fulfillment. I think that if some of the other criteria would have been right in my first corporate job, that I probably would have stayed there a long time. But there were some things that were really off. And I know that was divine universal design, because that's not what I was supposed to teach. I was teaching, while it was a very good, very positive and very genuine heart-centered company, it just wasn't what I was supposed to teach. I was teaching like business financials. But that led me to the next path and the next path and the next path, which showed me what I'm really supposed to teach, what I'm really supposed to do. I'm supposed to teach inner work, spirituality, personal development. And right now I teach it through the lens of elective sobriety. And every other piece of the puzzle had to align to get me to this path today. But the most important part was I had to jump. I had to make the decision. And today I want to talk about why drinking alcohol keeps us stuck in that good enough, and how if I would have kept drinking, I inevitably would have stayed on the path of I should just be happy. I'm pretty good at this. I'm paid well. And this can leak over into other areas of our lives as well, our personal wellness, our relationships, other dreams that we're pursuing. So I want you to ask yourself, are there areas in your life where you find yourself saying phrases like this? Wow, I have it better than so many other people. I really shouldn't complain. I should just be happy. Or I have a roof over my head. At least I have a job and a secure income and health insurance and a retirement fund. I should just be happy. I should just make this work. Maybe if one little tweak happens, this will make me happy. Right? We're always trying to negotiate how, if maybe we could just get a promotion or have a different boss, or get through this one time at work, this one hectic piece, then we'll be happy. And we convince ourselves to settle for good enough. And so often we fail to recognize that we're in that pattern of good enough. So I want to call it out because it's so important, because you are meant for more than good enough. But in the society, we fail to make a change because we haven't hit rock bottom. Rock bottom is the instant, oh, yep, something's gone wrong. Something is awry. We should rechart this course right away. But because many of us don't know that we are in that state of good enough, because we're convinced that rock bottom is the only catalyst for change, we do not do anything. We do not do anything at all. And so I want to ask you, if maybe you've become complacent, maybe you have found yourself stuck on the plateau of good enough. And that's precisely what it is. Here's rock bottom down here. It's down in a pit, the pit of despair, right? Then we have the plateau of good enough. And the thing about the plateau of good enough is it's steady, it's consistent, and we can get really good at walking on a plateau, right? It's easy to balance when you have a flat surface. But the other thing about the plateau of good enough is often we have taken on so much burden that is not ours to bear that we are carrying a really, really heavy weight. And so we come up with a lot of barriers on the plateau of good enough. We often feel like we're trudging along and so many things are hard and there are so many obstacles. And we get ourselves in that mindset of when this is over, or when I get through this, or if this could just change, then I can be happy. Then I can relax. Then I can have a little spare time to myself. Right? We start telling ourselves these stories. So if this sounds like something that you've done, I just want you to pay attention, because the plateau of good enough is great. I want you to be grateful for that, because you're right. There could be so many other situations. And your birthright is not the plateau of good enough. Your birthright is the peak of potential, right? And so when we get off the plateau of good enough, when we shed some of that weight that we've been carrying around, and we decide, I'm going to climb the peak of potential, that is when true satisfaction and happiness and flow sink in. And that is when climbing up a peak can feel entirely effortless, because you have shed all of the weight of trying to settle for good enough. And where alcohol comes into this picture is alcohol often comes in to conspire against us, to keep us stuck, to keep us complacent, to keep us small. And you've heard me talk about this, but what happens inevitably, usually we're already drinking by the time we get stuck on the plateau of good enough. We put ourselves on that path. But at some point, if you're like me, you realize there's something off here. I was in my late 20s, early 30s. I realized this rather early in life. Most people don't realize it until their 40s or 50s. But I felt something is off. I should be more lit up. I should be more exhilarated. I should be more happy and joyful about my life. And something feels wrong. But because I had worked so hard to get to where I was in my career, because I was fighting for financial stability, fighting for freedom, I was trying to live the American dream that I was told what it was. I didn't feel entitled. I didn't feel okay to think any differently, because I had spent 6 years getting a undergraduate and master's degree and climbing the corporate ladder, 6+ years, because I had all this student loan debt. I did not feel entitled to do anything else. It didn't make sense to me. There was no one telling me I could do anything else. And so I stayed there. And what I used to calm that discomfort, to quiet that voice inside that said, you could be doing something else. You are meant for more. You could be on a different path right now. There is a place out there that is meant for you, and you are not on that path. Because I didn't feel entitled or okay doing that, unwittingly, I turned to alcohol. And even though I wasn't drinking at a problematic level, I was still drinking because I didn't feel content. I always felt that my job was a thorn in my side, that my coworkers were there to torture me, that things were, even when I was happy in my job, I always felt there was some sort of drama that caused me to want to cut loose on Friday at happy hour and have a drink. And so if you felt that way, the problem is we drink because we're discontent. Drinking amplifies our discontent, amplifies our anxiety, amplifies our depression. It also deteriorates our ability to have creative thinking. It deteriorates our ability to show up bigger and bolder and better. And so inevitably what we do is we show up at mediocre capacity, mediocre creativity, mediocre output. And we keep trudging along the path of the plateau of good enough. And then because we still feel stuck, we drink again, and we continue this perpetual cycle, and we keep ourselves from being able to see we're stuck, we deserve more, and we're capable of more. Guess what? You can't climb up the peak of potential if you're drunk or hungover. That's not safe. Let me tell you what. No. You have to find a place where you can be brave enough to say, I know that there is something better for me. I know that there is something more for me. And this could be in a romantic relationship. Maybe you're feeling stuck in a partnership or a marriage. Maybe this is in a lifestyle pattern. You're not feeling healthy. You're feeling not vibrant. Maybe you're feeling overweight or out of shape. Or maybe you have like an autoimmune or something that's coming up and you feel stuck, and you're drinking because it makes you feel a little better. It makes you forget for a second that something isn't perfect. Well, damn it. If you want perfection, you have to do something out of the ordinary, right? And that doesn't mean your life is going to be rainbows and butterflies, but it's going to be so much better when you are actually challenging yourself on that peak of potential rather than trudging along on the plateau of good enough. So, my call to you today is to do something small. Over the next 4 months, I would love for you to commit to doing something small, to acknowledging where you're at and acknowledging and going forward to the thing that you want to be. That doesn't mean I want you to climb the peak of potential before you're ready, but I'd love you to take one little rung, one little step, one little grab um, up, up to this peak of potential. So your homework today, your sole assignment is to make a list of your someday win goals. And you can start these all the way from the first of this talk when we were back in your childhood, back in your adolescence, careers, dreams, aspirations that you wanted to achieve, or things that you think of now frequently, things that you're putting on your vision board or your Pinterest board, or things that you're always imagining. What would it be like if I had that house, if I had that job, if I had that relationship, if I had those types of friendships, if I ran that marathon, if I started that business, if I wrote that book, if I started that blog, if I made this pottery project go forward, whatever it is, I don't care if it's big or small, if it's a someday win goal and you've been putting it off, especially if you put it off because at some point you didn't have the time, energy, or confidence to do it because you were wasting so much time being wasted. I used to have this quote on my Facebook: time is never wasted when you're wasted all the time. I was in my like late teens, early 20s. I thought that was so funny. Time is 100% always wasted. If you are wasted, tipsy, or hungover, no matter what the status is, you are wasting your precious time and you deserve more, and the people around you deserve more. You have a light within you, you have a potential within you that is unmatched, that no one else can fulfill. And your soul came to this planet to fulfill that. And your soul will not rest until you do everything within your power, everything within your capacity to pursue that potential. You will never, now that you've been awakened, now that you've seen what you cannot unsee, you will never be satisfied if you continue on the plateau of good enough. Never. And so I want you to be happy. I want you to be fulfilled. And I want you to give that gift that you have to the world. And so making that small list of here are my someday win goals. Here are the things, the activities, the opportunities, the relationships, the careers. These are the things I'd like to pursue. And maybe it would even help you if you listen to that little mean, nasty voice of your ego and you wrote down all of the objections you have to why you can't do it, why you can't have it. It doesn't pay enough. I'd have to go back to school. It takes too much time. I live in too small of a town. Whatever it is that's keeping you from doing it, it might be too hard. I might have to give up something that is comfy and cozy to me. Anything that's holding you back, any thoughts that are holding you back, I'd love to explore those with you because I am the queen of debunking crummy ego thoughts. But the primary thought, the primary activity that holds us back is drinking. So if you have committed to having that out of the picture and you're ready to go ahead and take a step up the peak of potential, write down those someday win goals. And then under each goal, come up with some creative ways in which you could take a first small step. So if you want to start a business, maybe you can buy a book and read it. Maybe you can take a course. Maybe you can hire a coach. I always, always, always encourage you to invest in these someday win goals. You have no idea what power you will have once you have someone who is rooting for you and helping you and guiding you and stretching you. That is my special secret skill as a coach, is to stretch you into your next level of self and to see your vision and hold that vision for you so strong that you can't help but pull yourself up to the next level on your peak of potential. So write down one tiny step. I don't want you to see the whole picture. I don't want you to get overwhelmed and think of all the million things you have to do to achieve this goal, this dream, or this desire. I just want you to think of the one first small step. And once you've taken that step, then you can take the tiny next step, then the next one, then the next one, then the next one. And if you're feeling stuck, this is exactly what I help women inside of my short-term intensive agreements, where we basically get together and go over something that you are really stuck on or wanting for in your life. And again, my special skill is seeing the possibility for you and finding creative solutions and challenging you, stretching you up to those solutions in a very loving way. And I would be honored to help and support any of you who are on that path, who are feeling a little bit stuck. And of course, I have options for like longer and greater support. But if you just feel like you need a little nudge up to the first step, I'm there to help, because my job is not done unless you are going after that potential. So your sole assignment today is to go ahead and just make a list of what you could do. What are some small things you could do to take you up to that next step? And then I would encourage you to go ahead and book put a time on your calendar to express that thing, to do that thing, to take the class, to um, invest in the course, invest in the support system, whatever you can do to take the first tiny step. And then once you do, celebrate it. Let me know. Tell me what you did and celebrate it for yourself because that is so freaking rad that you are taking a step to pursue a dream. And you are going to set such a good example for your children or your friends or your family, anyone who's watching you in life, because it will seem like you have done the impossible, but really you've just done what was meant for you all along. You've just done what was meant for you all along. And I really can't wait to see what you achieve because I truly believe that once you make the decision, if you are sober curious, once you make the decision to remove alcohol from your life, that you become unstoppable. And we need more unstoppable humans in this world. We need your light. We need your great work. We need you feeling loved and joyful and fulfilled, no matter what aspect of your life you're thinking of. All right. So I am cheering for you. I am rooting for you. I so hope that this resonated with you. This is a short one today, but this is a really important topic that I want you to embrace and consider that good enough is not good enough. Good enough is something to be grateful for, but you were meant to achieve your potential. You're meant to become the fullest expression of your potential possible. And drinking's not going to get you there. And sitting around is not going to get you there. So if you found yourself, kind of being complacent with alcohol out of the picture, it's time to take a next step. This is your encouragement to do so. It's time to start climbing. It's time to start reaching. It's time to start stretching. And I'm here to support you. I'm here to encourage you. I'm here to cheer for you, here to make you feel safe and on track and supported.